With his elite athleticism, versatility, and raw strength, Kenyon Sadiq can transform an NFL passing offense.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast. Cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst for Bleacher Report. That's Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Breaking down tight end Kenyon Sadiq, giving you his full scouting report from us here on the Locked On NFL Draft. From getting to the pros, what is he good at? What are the cons? Some of the things he needs to work on, and then explaining the grade, and then give you our NFL comps. But before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon came to the combine listed at 6'3", 241 pounds, 31 and a half on the arms, and 10 even on the hands. He ran the 4.39 in the 40 with a 1.54 10-yard split, 43 and a half inch vert, 11.1 broad jump, and 26 reps on the bench. Keith, Kenyon the Freak Sadiq. What's his A trait, man? What's that number one trait you have for him going into the NFL?
Man, DP, I think it's directly tied to all the numbers you just listed off, and that's the athleticism. That is off the charts explosiveness for a tight end prospect that we rarely see, right? And we see good movement tight ends, and I'm gonna tie it into last year's draft, right? We had Colston Loveland, we had Tyler Warren, right? Both good athletes. This is another level. This is elite athletes. This is the where it should go, and probably because he is a tight end and didn't have as much hype coming in, right? But it should go down as one of the rarer combine performances per position group. That's how you should look at this. So if I look at it, I say his A trait is his athleticism, DP, and everything that you can do with him. And I think his athleticism is then tied into versatility, and where he can play on the field, right? Like those numbers are X wide receiver numbers. So can you align them at the X wide receiver number if you're playing against a team that plays zone, right? And then move your X into the slot or do some different things. It's a lot of different things you can now do with him. If you're an offensive play caller, you're like, this is very exciting to even get your hands on him, and him just being a solid player overall, which I'll get more into when I say the overall part.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that everything combined, the athleticism, the alignment, versatility, just his skill set is just unique. And at 6'3", 240, the run sub 4.4, the jump out of the gym, whether it's vertical or broad, and you see it translate to the football field. That explosiveness up the seams, like he is a vertical seam threat from the tight end position. And that's whether in line or lined up as a slot. Like he can get vertical. You're talking about trying to throw slot fades and everything by detaching him from the line of scrimmage. He can do those things. But also, like, this is a guy that, like, he makes plays at the catch point too at 6'3", 241. Like, he does not have a problem coming down with contested catches. For PFF, for those who value the numbers, PFF had him 12 contested catch targets. He converted 7 of those for a contested catch percentage of 58.3%. So when they gave him opportunities to make plays on the ball, he did that. But to me, Keith, it's the 3-down ability and potential he brings to the NFL as well. That I always say run blocking, it's a will and a skill issue. It's not one or the other, it's both. It's like playing defense in the NBA. Like, yes, you got to have a mindset to do it. You also got to have quick feet. You got to be able to, avoid screens, and you got to physically be able to do it. You know what I mean? Move laterally and stay in front of your guy. So but you got to want to do it as well. He wants to block and he can block, right? At 6'3", 240, the dude's arms are like, he should be out there with like prime Arnold Schwarzenegger, like just flexing. You know what I mean? Like he hits the gym.
Yeah, and I don't want to just say he can block because and I guess I'll kind of unveil where I'm at with tight ends, right? Most tight ends in the NFL are not great blockers, right? More like 75 to 80% of them are not great blockers, especially when we talk about around the tight ends, right? Like especially the passing game too, right? Like you can have those tight ends that are just big bodies, you know, they're 265, 275, and they're meant just for blocking. But most starting tight ends who provide something in the pass game are not great blockers, right? Like you're not getting high level blocking out of them. Kenyon Sadiq, I think he enters the NFL and he's one of the better blockers in the NFL at the tight end position. Then on top of that, DP, I think he has an opportunity to be an asset in the run game. That's how much I like him in run blocking, right? And we get into teams that want to have two tight ends, right? Like the fact that he's dominant in the run game and he's also an elite athlete, he counts twice, right? Meaning that if you're running the football, you can put him on the line of scrimmage and he's a A+ as far as blocking at the tight end position, right? He can help seal some stuff off, dual block to the second level. I think he can do all those different things, right? Especially when you're talking about him probably having to block defensive ends, right? Like if it's defensive tackles, then I'm like, all right, I'm a little concerned, right? But defensive ends, I think he can figure some things out. Then when you get into the athletic part, okay, cool, we want to pass the ball. You can keep him on the field, right? So I think like, and he could be used as the X wide receiver. So there's so much versatility in him, and we talk about athleticism providing versatility, but because he's a good run blocker, it provides another layer of versatility too, which opens the conversation, in my opinion, DP, that even if teams have tight ends, right? Like, let's go back to the Chicago Bears. They have tight ends. Could they think twice about drafting a Kenyon Sadiq? Right. And I know, you know, I'm not fully sure of what the Cole Kmet situation is, but I'm just thinking about a team, a young tight end, right? And then a Kenyon Sadiq coming in. And the reason I mentioned them was because of the loss of DJ Moore. Right? Do you feel like, okay, this is just a slightly different variation, but this actually might be a win because it helps us in the run game more, and he still has the elite athleticism?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's of course you pair him with Colston Loveland, like you feel really good about that going forward. You know what I mean, especially for Caleb Williams. I think, you know, I don't think he makes it that far to them in the 20s. I think
I was just that was the first thing that popped up in my head off of pure example, but just a young team that has a tight end already, can they go and be like, you know what, we might could use this guy in a different way?
I mean, Tampa at 15 makes. I mean, even though they brought back K. Otten doesn't bring this. He doesn't bring that that athleticism, that explosiveness. And if you want K. Otten to be your inline guy, that's perfect because it then allows Kenyon Sadiq to not have to be the inline guy. And now I can really move you around, use you as that chess piece offensively, because that's versatility where he can align. It's going to create advantageous matchups. He's a guy that, you know, watching Gronk and Kelsey and Gonzalez and all the great tight ends we've seen come through the NFL, when you got a guy that the defense has to respect, you start motioning him pre-snap, that's a pre-snap indicator for your quarterback to be like, okay, this safety's following him. So either they're about to bracket you with a linebacker underneath and the safety playing over the top, or this is just straight man-to-man. You know what I mean? And that allows your quarterback to kind of have a semblance of the answers before the test starts, you know what I mean? Before he has to answer the question. So I think with Kenyon Sadiq, he's just such a fascinating prospect because of the fact of everything that's just purely God-given. The speed, the explosiveness, the leaping ability, but then the mentality he plays with, and the mentality that he just has. Like he goes out there, he wants to give it his all. He's like, typically we always bring up motor for defenders. We need to start doing that for offensive players. He's a high motor offensive player that does not stop until the whistle. So I think for him, man, you know, like I said, you think about the West Coast offenses, especially off the split flow play action looks, and he comes back under the flats, you hit him, and then you let him turn upfield and get that 6'3", 240-pound frame, get him going and get him rolling in open field and allow him to pick up speed and get the top speed. Now it becomes a little bit of a foot race if he's down the sideline and it's just him and a safety because nobody else is in that vicinity. He's going to create matchups and good matchups, advantageous matchups for an offense.
Yep, I agree. DP, let's talk about this, man. What are the areas for improvement for Kenyon Sadiq? What parts of his game that he needs to improve, or we want to see more from Kenyon Sadiq, and we'll talk about that coming up next.
College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Go ahead and look at the odds of your favorite team if they are still in season. Go safe, go bold, or ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, and now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com today to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Getting into the areas of concern for Oregon star tight end Kenyon Sadiq. That's what's coming up next. But free agency is here, and so are we. Get 1 month free of the Everydayer Club with the code free agency, no spaces, now through March 15th. Go ad free and keep this conversation about Kenyon Sadiq or any other tight end going on Discord. Join the club at lockedonnfldraft.supercast.com. Keith, I think first thing when we talk about the concerns with him, I think it is the 240 pounds. Just his build is, we talk, his arms are huge, like he's got strong legs, but he said something, and when he said it, it kind of confirmed it for me because I saw it on film. He talked about straining as a run blocker and dealing with those defensive ends. He's like, listen, I'm 240. This is a grown man's game I'm heading into in the NFL. And I was like, yeah, this is a very good point. I think for him, he's a really good run blocker. I think the sustainability for some blocks in terms of, like being able to strain, lock out, just secure the block for a decent amount of time. There are some instances where he's falling off of blocks or guys are starting to shed him because he is 240. Now, he's strong as an ox. You can tell he's strong. But it's like, is that weight room strength? Is that grown man strength? And we all know this is two different things. And I think going to the league, when I heard him say that at the combine, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense to bring that up, is because I do have that concern with him going into the NFL. Not even going to go to like an extreme case of a Myles Garrett, but you dealing with an Aiden Hutchinson. You know what I mean? And the power and strength that Aiden plays with. Like, this young man, he's still a young man. So, like, talking about being able to, like, transition to a league of grown men and having to, I think for me, I liken him more to that slice, split flow action, leave that backside in, let him rush up field, let Kenyon Sadiq get that blind side, that crack block off of him. I don't know how comfortable I'm going to be out the gate with him in, like, man and down gap type of blocks one-on-one with defensive ends. But to your point, which you said earlier, he can't double team, climb to the second level. I think the run block sustainability against defensive ends, I think that's one of my biggest concerns with him going to the league.
Yeah, and it's I think you may feel the same way, right? But it's a mild concern, right? Just because, like I stated earlier, that most tight ends can't block defensive ends one-on-ones, right? That's usually dominant. I just think that he's higher level than most tight ends as far as getting that job done. But I agree with you, and it'll be interesting to see, can he get to 245, 247, right?
Yeah, I would like to bulk him up. Granted, he's already muscular. Yeah. But if I could get him up to 245, 247.
Yeah, I wonder, the question is, like, can he even bulk up, right?
Like can you bulk up? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's already filled out. So if he doesn't have an ounce of fat on his body, right, then
it doesn't look like he does. Yeah. Keith. So I don't really know where you go from there, because it doesn't look like there's any fat on this young man's frame.
I'm concerned. I'm gonna go with concentration drops, DP.
Yeah.
There were a couple on film where I thought it was a lack of concentration. I can't remember what game it was. it wasn't the JMU game, but it felt like it was an over route. He was close to the sideline, and he kind of turned his head already, right? Like to start looking up the field and potentially looking for that defender that's going to come hit him, right? Like if you know his zone and you running a crossing route, like you know somebody's coming from somewhere, right? So I seen that, and then I can't remember the other game. It was a seam route, and went up. Ball hit his hands. He didn't come down with it. So just improving that little part, right? Like just the little minute details, which you see from players, period, right? Especially the run after the catch situation, especially when they hear footsteps, right? And that's why you always hear defenders talking about, I guess the old defenders about how soft the NFL has gotten because the wide receivers don't have to worry about those big hits anymore. But the wide receivers of this age, right? They still worry about the contact, period. So I think that part he just has to improve on it. But I also think it'll come with a volume thing, right? Meaning that when you have a offense or just you as a wide receiver, tight end, pass catcher, right? And you're not in the groove, you know what I'm saying? Like it can be difficult just to get these one-off shots and you haven't been targeted the whole game, right? So I think if he's utilized early on often, it'll improve his rhythm and routine and things like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think just like you said, the concentration drops, just focusing in, bring the ball in before you try to do anything else. You know what I mean? Secure the pass. Nothing after the catch matters if the ball's on the ground and you didn't secure it. So I think that's a big thing. I think for me, another big concern, and this is probably my biggest concern with him, is yards after catch. For a guy with his strength and like physical frame, when he is like shoestring tackles, guys grabbing at the ankles, he goes down. I need to see you power through those. I need to see you
balance. I don't know if it's a
upright.
balance issue or
it could be. It could be a balance thing for sure. I just need to see, like, especially because it's not like he's got small lower legs. Like you can tell he squats and he's not one of those guys. I promise you, he's not like the episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob's flexing and you still see the little stick legs. This isn't the guy that avoids the squat rack at all. Like he does everything in the gym, you could tell, but you want to see him just keep his balance in those situations. And like I said, it could be unbalanced. Sometimes he looks like when he is contacted after the catch, he just looks like he's uncoordinated or he loses his equilibrium in a sense. Like you got to stay upright, and I just want to see him power through. Like make some tackles, make some defenders miss. Because when you're that explosive, I want to get you. Like I want to get the ball to you quickly, and let's take advantage of some yak opportunities with that speed, with that explosiveness, with that acceleration that you have. I think if he's able to correct that and get better in terms of balance and contact balance, after the catch, I think that's going to allow him to really hit his peak, Keith. Because I don't want it to be a situation where it's like, well, the only way we see that speed is if we get you going, we max protect and get you going downfield on the vertical shot. Like, I want to run those too. I want to definitely throw some posts and some slot fades and some seam routes. But what if I just throw a shallow cross off a mesh concept? Right, and I hit you in space, and there's a corner sitting there, a cloud cover 2 corner that's squatting and waiting on you, and he dives at your legs because he knows up top he's not going to tackle you. That's the thing for me, is that these DBs know they're going to look at him up top and be like, bro, like this is a big dude. I got to chop the tree trunk. Well, you got to be able to be like a tree stump and be solid with a strong foundation. He got the strong foundation. Like, play with it, because I think if you start making some of these situations or these making guys miss an open field, like I said, I think that's when you really get to see just how good of a player he can become. Because I don't even think we've seen the best of Kenyon Sadiq yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess that's what I was kind of hitting at with Oregon, right? Like the rhythm and routine. Like he wasn't all the way into the game plan, right? Like it didn't feel like he got his, guaranteed 10 targets, 10 touches or a game for compared to what type of athlete he is on the field. And I think that's the part we probably both excited about to see, like, okay, what can be unlocked on the next level. DP, let's do this, man. Like we say, this is the part of the show where we wrap up with the draft grade, right? We give out the grade, we give out a draft comp, and then we explain, right, where we have these guys going. And I'm also probably talk about some more NFL teams, DP, that Kenyon Sadiq can possibly go to. So let's get into that conversation coming up next.
It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face to face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real time notifications as you go on about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. So head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydays, explaining the grade, NFL comps, and some NFL teams that should be interested in Kenyon Sadiq when the 2026 NFL Draft kicks off in round one. Keith, what grade do you have for Kenyon Sadiq?
Yeah, Kenyon Sadiq. I forgot who I talked about. Was this Sonny Styles? Or I think Sonny Styles was the last one we did, I believe.
I think
And
so,
I talked about having him right up there with the elite of the elite. So looking at this, I gave Kenyon Sadiq a 86.5. And like I said, that's that second tier of, like, for me, it's a high tier, right? But it's just,
Yeah.
it might be one guy that has an 87.5, but he's right there under that. Like, I feel like he's in that bucket of these when you talk about, and I think we discussed it with Jeremiah Love, right? As far as prospects that check every box athletically and the film looks good, right? He's in that box with those guys, in my opinion. Just being able to do everything. So that's why I put him at an 86.5. So that's a Pro Bowl caliber tight end.
Yeah, I have him as I have him as an 8.7, which is an impact first round pick for us over at Bleacher Report. I think day one starter. The next tier is like a year one starter underneath impact. So unless he's starting out the gate for me. I think this is a player that does everything, that has the skill set, the athleticism, the frame, the mentality to be one of the best in the league. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because it's wild. The watch him block, and you search Twitter enough, you'll see people like say, "Oh yeah, no, I don't think he's a good blocker," and they try to knock him for it. I'm like, guys, I remember when Brock Bowers came out, and you guys had nothing to say about his run blocking or the lack thereof. You know what I mean? He didn't have the frame, the strength. He had the mentality, but again, it's not just a.
That's why I continue to say this when I talk about the run blocking with tight ends, like, because people have to get like thinking that because he put his hand in the ground, he's gonna block like a 330-pound offensive tackle. It's not happening. Like and I learned my lesson, and I just to our listeners, where I learned this was when I was doing my internship with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? And they had me go through and watch film on NFL tight ends, right? And then I'm like, oh, that was bad. Like, and I don't want to list off the names of the guys, but it was prominent NFL tight end names. And I'm like, oh, tight ends can't block. Like, that's not their thing. That's not their calling card. So I think that's one of those easy things to say in regards to tight end. But are you hurting or helping your case for where these guys get get drafted? Because most of them can't block. So then if you're going to knock one guy for run blocking, then like, what tight end are you going to like, right? Like, it becomes one of those situations. And it's obviously very helpful if you have a guy like a Rob Gronkowski or George Kittle, who are high effort, high motor guys. But when you look at the part of it where you said it, right? Myles Garrett is 270 pounds and 6'5". To think somebody that's going to be 6'4", 255 pounds is going to block him for 3-4 seconds, it just doesn't show for a great equation, right? Like the physics of that doesn't align.
Exactly. No, I like I said, I think he's a guy that can be a 3-down player, high impact player. I think he's got the skill set, the tools, everything. If you're talking about, hey, I'm the recipe is to make a top 5 tight end. He has all of the ingredients to be that. Now, he doesn't have the only thing he doesn't have is the prototypical height. You know, most of the top tight ends are 6'5", 6'6", somewhere 6'7", somewhere in there. But 6'3", yeah. I didn't expect that. Oh, but for to be 6'3", 240, yeah, no, he's got all the recipes outside of the prototypical height. Console is difficult with him because of he's a different just cat. I had to go back to Vernon Davis. You know what I mean?
That's exactly why I went. I'm glad you said it because I was like, and I think we actually DP before the combine we discussed Vernon Davis for him, and was like, we just he appears to be a supreme athlete, but the comp part is to me body type too, just like how chiseled out, filled out the frame is. I know you use the terminology muscle bound, right? Like just like peak level athletes. I think that's the part that reminds me of that too.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give y'all some context. Mock Draftable has Vernon Davis, 6'3", 254 with a 4.38, 42-inch vert. Like, listen, I'm pretty sure he ran that 4.3 at 250 plus. So that's just different. You know what I mean? So I would say Vernon Davis light since he's about 14 pounds lighter. But that Vernon Davis light makes a lot of sense to me. And again, if he can add some weight to get up to 245, 247 and not drop, that 4.39 to 4.48 or nothing crazy like that, don't ruin the speed. Yeah, I think this guy has top 10 to top 5 tight end potential in the league.
Yeah, another guy came to mind because of the versatility. And they're around the same height and weight, but Kenyon was a more supreme athlete, and this young man had a interesting career. And I thought about, and a matter of fact, I think he just retired as far as talking about being on brand. Hayden Hurst early on, because you know how versatile Hayden was, right?
Yeah.
As a player. It just, I think his career peaked, and then like you mix in different things and different elements. But I was thinking about just the versatility part, and they're both like 6'3", 6'4", 245 pounds. So I don't even want to use that as a direct comp. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the George Kittles of, like, putting them in the bracket of the George Kittles of the world, and like where do you feel? How do you feel about that?
I think you could use him like Kittle, because Kittle's gonna be. I mean, I think Kittle's like 6'5", bigger, a little bit bigger in terms of like his overall frame, being height. I think Barry longer arms, but Kittle, like San Fran doesn't deploy Kittle the way Andy Reid and Kansas City deployed Travis Kelce. You know what I mean? Like Travis Kelce is probably one of those blockers you watch, you're like, that wasn't great. You know what I mean? Like,
1,000,000%.
He's like it's like a power forward. He just sets a nice screen and that's it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna give you that. You better get around me and while I'm setting this screen, because he's not moving people off ball, but he's utilized more as a kind of like a big slot, like just the route running and movement skills, where like you watch Kittle, it's inline. I can put you in the slot, I can move you wherever, but they run a lot of inline stuff because they run the football. I think if you're a heavy running the football team, a Kenyon Sadiq like George Kittle would fit you a whole lot more than that Travis Kelce, Brock Bowers type, because they're more receiver than blocker. And then at the same time, I got a mismatch, a creative mismatch weapon in Kenyon Sadiq, the same way you have with George Kittle. When Kyle Shanahan does dial it up and like make Kittle the focal point, defenses struggle to cover him. You know what I mean? It's just they don't do it enough, Keith. But I want to close it out. You mentioned that, as you transition, teams that in round one that make a lot of sense, Keith. And I think I mentioned at 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If there's not an edge or linebacker there that I think they just signed Alex Anzalone from the Lions, so maybe that's the linebacker. But I still would probably draft a young guy too to pair with them, because Levante David isn't getting any younger, and everything. If there's not an edge that they want to throw out there or to put on this defense, tight end is still a spot. Yes, you got K. Otten, you brought him back, but he doesn't give you anywhere near the athletic upside of a Kenyon Sadiq. And you could truly come out in 12 and even go empty out of those sets and force teams in the base. I think 15 is a nice spot for him with the Bucs.
DPI, so I have a question, right? And this is, post free agency as free agency is going on, right?
Mhm.
We're discussing this previous to free agency starting. It was one name that I thought locked up a couple spots for Kenyon Sadiq, and that was Jeremiah Love, right? And people talking about Jeremiah Love, him potentially going to the New Orleans Saints, and then
Mhm.
him, would he be a great fit for the Kansas City Chiefs? That's pick 8 and pick 9. The New Orleans Saints, they signed Travis Etienne, right, to
Yep.
a lucrative deal. I think it was 4 years, 60 million. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, somewhere around the same type of deal, right? They were both similar
Mhm.
deals. So both of those teams both went and got their running back answer, right? And they did it via
Yep.
free agency. So I don't foresee them going after Jeremiah Love. Do they now have the ability to go after a Kenyon Sadiq type of situation, right? And even with Travis Kelce saying he's coming back, do you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and they like, hey, look, we got a run game. We're gonna go get a young, physically dominant tight end. We're gonna have Kelce, and we'll have our
Mhm.
receivers on the outside. Like, I wonder if that's going to be part of their thought process now.
Oh, I have to be right. Like getting that heir apparent that got to step in, learn from Kelsey, develop with Andy Reid, and then giving that guy hit to Andy Reid. They're going to be in a very because I think they've lost I think 2 or 3 corners this offseason from Kansas City
They lost 2 of them to the
to the
Rams,
Rams.
right?
Like so, I think another was signed to maybe Tennessee or something like that. I was just like, what is going on, man? How much money are you guys needing to save right now? So that 9 spot it's going to be interesting. I'm like, is that a corner or a right tackle? They're going to have their pick of the litter because honestly, I'm going to just let y'all know, I don't think they have to worry about the reason why they went ahead and pivoted to Kenneth Walker and the Saints went and got Travis Etienne because, yeah, Jeremiah Love is like, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to
Mhm.
be there on the clock. Look at number 4, the Tennessee Titans. I have a strong feeling that's exactly where he's going to land come draft night. But yeah, I think either one of those teams could be a good fit for him and everything. And then the one team, if he gets past those 2 and the Bucks, it's 19 to the Carolina Panthers. And it's just to me, it's simple.
Oh, without a doubt.
I
Yeah.
yeah,
And
like
that's
you
actually
need
my
a
favorite
dynamic.
pairing that I think
Me
could
too.
be beneficial, but you just don't, he's not gonna go that far, right? So
Yeah,
Carolina have to try to move up.
yeah, I think if he slips, if like Jeremiah Love goes 4 and like you got Ruben Bain mixed in, David Bailey got to go top 10. Some of these offensive linemen going to slip down the board. I think some of the wide receivers might fall out of the top
Mhm.
10. You know what I mean? We might get Cardinal at 6, and then like the Rams are a spot, and I think the Saints are a spot. You look at wide receiver as well. And then next thing you know, Kenyon Sadiq is sitting there at 19, and you're like, why am I? What are we talking about? Let's go ahead and run that
Mhm.
card up. Because at the end of the day, you want to get that dynamic presence at tight end. Because I keep talking about they don't have any speed at receiver like that besides Jimmy Horn and then the build-up speed of Xavier Legette, who they don't seem to be using correctly, and his confidence is just shot. So get a Kenyon Sadiq in there, and then you allow this to be that true tell me who you are year for Bryce. Are you a quarterback that can feed multiple weapons? You know what I mean? Because that'll be another first round weapon we've gotten you. We got to have a winning record this year. You can't just manage the game. We're going to run the ball, but we want to be able to see you uplift this passing offense and feed. Be that point guard that get this guy 8 shots, this guy 7 shots, this guy 6 shots, and we're a high scoring offense. Because if you commit another first round pick on an explosive weapon, the quarterback got to be able to uplift this passing offense so you can start scoring more points.
Yep, I agree with DP. That wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to see, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, LSU cornerback Mansour Delane. We put him underneath the scouting scope, right? And we're going to talk about him, man. We're going to highlight the spotlight. We're going to talk about his game, the pros, the cons, explaining the grade, and some NFL comps for arguably CB1 of this draft class. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.